All right, here we go. Home learning number 5. It's Friday. Doesn't really make any difference because all the days are the same, but it's Friday. Okay, here we go. All right, so factor. I look at this first problem here, and I notice definitely doesn't look like a regular trinomial. I got x to the fifths and sevenths and all kinds of craziness. So I'm going to look for GCF. I should always do that first anyways. I should always look for GCF. Let's start with the numbers 14, 21, and 7. Greatest common factor of 14, 21, and 7 is, you guessed it, 7. 7 is the biggest number that goes into all three, 7, 14, and 21. And then I notice my first term has an x, so I'm going to check the other ones. Yes, that has an x. Yes, that has an x. So that means that my greatest common factor needs to have an x. And to decide on the exponent, I look for the smallest exponent, which in this case is 2. So 7x squared is my greatest common factor. So now I need to figure out what do I multiply 7x squared by in order to get this polynomial. So I'm going to take it one step at a time. In order to get 14x to the fifth, I have to multiply 7x squared by 2. 7 times 2 is 14. And x to the third. X squared times x to the third is x to the fifth minus 7 times 3 gives me 21, and x squared times x to the fifth gives me x to the seventh, plus, now I purposely put this one on here because I didn't want you to forget this part. What do I multiply 7x squared by to get 7x squared? I multiply by 1. If you don't put anything there, then that implies 0. And 7x squared times 0 is 0. And we want 7x squared. So I have to multiply by 1. So don't forget that. All right. Next problem. Factor. All right, as soon as I see factor, I know I'm going to look for greatest common factor. And the first thing I notice is there is no number in front of x squared. No number in front of x squared means I don't have a greatest common factor for the numbers. Let's check the variables. This has an x, this has an x, no x here. So no greatest common factor here. Nope, this one is a regular trinomial. Regular trinomial, so I'm going to put my parentheses. X times x gives me x squared. And now I need two numbers that multiply to 144 and add to 24. And some of you savvy people got it already. Well, that's just 12 and 12. 12 times 12 is 144. 12 plus 12 is 24. And I just want to point out that when you have two things that are the same like this, you can write it the same way. If I had 3 times 3, I could write that as 3 squared. You could do the same thing here. I could write this as x plus 12 squared. That's not a requirement. I'm just pointing it out to you. Okay, so moving on. What do we got now? All right. The population of a city so we got our Regents review problems. The population of a city can be modeled by this crazy looking formula right here, but I do notice that it's exponential. Okay, I've got a rate of growth, and then I've got some kind of time thing going on over here, where P of t is the population after t years. Which function is approximately equivalent to P of t? And then I have all these choices. Well, I don't know about you, but I have no idea how to transform whatever this is into whatever this is and find the one that matches. I have no idea how to do this. Oh, well, I guess I can't do this problem. Wrong. You can do this problem because you have a graphing calculator. And if we want functions that are approximately equivalent, then that means I want them to be the same, which means I want their tables to match. So how did I do this problem? I put this guy right here, 3,810 times 1.0005 raised to the 7x. I put that into y1, and then I put my answer choice in y2. And I looked at my tables, and I checked to see if they were at least really, really close to each other. Turns out, with choice 1, not even close. They're not even close together at all. In fact, I know that it wasn't because if you look really closely here, This is a rate less than 1, so that means this one's going down. This is a rate greater than 1, so that means that that one's going up. So it cannot be this. And then by the same logic, it cannot be choice 3 either. Turns out, if you put this guy into Y2 and you look at the tables, you're going to get tables that are really, really close together. So it turns out that choice 2 is the correct answer. So here's a case where we don't know anything about the math, but we understand what approximately equivalent means and how to use our graphing calculator, and I was able to successfully answer that question. So that's an important skill. All right, last one. The formula A equals V sub f minus V sub 1 over t is used to calculate acceleration as the change in velocity over the period of time. Solve the formula for the final velocity V sub f. Now, there's a bunch of other gobbledygook here in terms of initial velocity V sub I, acceleration A, and time t. Look, all that means is we are solving for this variable. Okay, so let's write it out. A equals V sub f minus V sub I over t. My job is to get this variable by itself. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get that t out of there, and I'm going to do that by multiplying both sides by t. When I do that, I get t times A equals V sub f minus V sub I. Again, I'm trying to get V sub f by itself. How do I do it? Add V sub I to both sides because it's being subtracted. So what does that give me as my final answer? T times A plus V sub I gives me V sub f. I have V sub f on its own. That is my final answer. You guys have a terrific weekend, and we will see if this is still going to be the process for next week or if we're going to do something a little different. I will keep you posted as I learn things. In the meantime, have a good weekend. Stay healthy. Try not to go crazy being cooped up inside. Go outside, get some sunshine, and I'll talk to you soon.